Welcome back to Trekyards, everyone. He is Commander Cockings.
Space, the final front is Commander Captain Foley.
Today we're talking about Spock, one of the most legendary characters in Star Trek.
And you can see why I'm confused, Stuart, because I don't know why Leonard Nimoy died, Stuart, sadly enough, a few years ago.
He did.
What is this video, Stuart?
This is the latest thing from Otoy, which you guys have all probably seen right now. By now, it's called Regeneration. It shows some really great stuff. They really do a fantastic job over there. And this is Spock. But is it Spock? What is it? Is it a deep fake? Is it all CG?
I mean, all of those things it could be, but then you go to the next picture, it's even better.
It's a motion picture era Spock. Younger Spock.
And it's entirely different. And then if you go forward again, it's 2S Spock. What? He keeps de-aging. What? Yeah. So go back to the middle one, or just between the other ones. Yeah. This is the thing. The Octane render engine. Literally, this is a video creation render engine group. Self-investing, self-creating these Star Trek shorts to kind of push technology and obviously promote themselves and do this thing for the Roddenberry archives, which of course please do search and take a look of, and we'll look at a later date. And part of that has been really doing cutting-edge technology in several ways, one of which being the LED wall tech for Mandalorian, meaning they've got a giant wall which they can put a background on, behind Spock that is not real, but it's also not fake. It's not a real set, but it's not a digital image. It's a projected image that they've just filmed on. So all the light wrap, all that is perfect. All the light integration is perfect, right? And then they went a few steps further. They brought an actress in to play one of the people from The Cage, and then they found an actor.
Lieutenant Colt, I believe, was her name.
There you go. And then they pushed it another step further. They found an actor who looked some like Spock, and they've pushed that as far as they can go. And this is the result. I mean, this TMP Spock. Like, what do you think? How do you think he looks? Give me your professional review to Leonard Nimoy as to this chap.
It is Leonard Nimoy. It's that simple. It's pretty much perfect. I mean, I assumed this was all like deep fake and stuff like that, but apparently not so much. So that's super impressive. And the fact that they've got the younger Spock as well as the older Spock, and both look like Leonard Nimoy. I mean, if there's no other, it's uncanny. It's like Q snapped his fingers and brought him back for this.
Yeah, it's kind of an achievement. It's fair to say, and a lot of this stuff we're about to show you guys in the next few slides is still sort of teaser images or things they've half put out. There's a few videos, but they're very teasing. They're very it's a wonderfully interesting project. They've not gone full frontal thing, because of course this is an actor who looks somewhat like Spock. They've put a ton of prosthetics on and done some digital enhancements, which we'll get into a little bit later, and then filmed and then put together into this piece. Now obviously he doesn't sound like Spock, and the question of how much he can act through that amount of makeup as well is what you can and can't do. Now luckily Spock is a very still performer, where a single eye gesture or an eyebrow can sell something. And he can, and as you see in the trailers, that often it's just like, and that's his entire bit, right? And a character like that can do that. James D. Kirk, the swagger, you'd have to do a whole different way. Or a talking character. So they can't do that. But they're a visual effects company. It's the visuals about cutting the edge on.
Well, as far as the voice goes, I mean, we just recently started playing Resurgence video game, and the guy that does the voice for Spock in that is pretty much Spock on. It's like spot on, only different.
You saving that straight or that improv?
Well, the spot on is more like meow, meow. But no, it's more Spock on. And so if they could get him to do voiceover work for this guy, I mean, you've got that's it. You've nailed it essentially.
And that's always the problem with doing both, is that visually you can get perfect. Audio, if it's not what you think he sounds like, there'll be disconnect. So I can understand why they're limiting it. I do that as well in my films a bit. But let's get into some of the what, why, how, and who. And again, they've been somewhat cagey.
Pardon the pun.
Literally, if you Google the actor's name, I can find a picture of him. But he's an actor, he's a paid actor. Where's his whatever, right? They gave his full name. I couldn't have a single image of him as reference, only through the Spock lens. So this is the behind the scenes image. This is the only one that really takes everything. As you can kind of guess from this, the amount of prosthetic is most of his face. Because obviously Spock has a specific set of cheekbones, neck bone. It's a structure, right? And if you can add it onto an actor who can absorb that and push through it, well, that's where the golden thing is. But what do you take from this then?
Well, this is surprising to me that when I first heard this, I didn't believe it. But you're right. I mean, emoting through this or being able to do a lot of, acting per se through this, it might be difficult. However, prosthetics have come a long way. They don't look super thick. It would be a whole process to do this for sure. I'd be interested to see how well the prosthetics actually perform under those kind of conditions.
And also in person, because once you put through a camera, you can do things in post, but also it can hide certain things. You can cinematically make a boring thing look cool versus in person. Like the tricorders from TNG, you see the wood grain, right, or the resin grain. Like there's a mystique lost. Once I was able to watch a bit of a slight keynote with some information on this because they've been quite cagey. Originally, they had expected they were going to use a 3D model of Spock, to which they made a very good one, which of course rendered very well, would look very good, and you can make a 3D model do effectively, pretty effectively, right? Is when you want to do more complex things to sell it, you can tell. Then they found the actor, and they went a step forward. So as you can see in the top three, they did a life cast of his face, which is pretty common in prosthetic work. And then they used that, and they 3D printed prosthetics with the Spock 3D model on top of the mold of his face. So on the inside of the mask, it's his face to contort perfectly. On the outside, it's Leonard Nimoy's proportions.
Wow.
So it's literally a printed face mask.
That's brilliant. I would like to see the character model they use for that. I mean, if you go back to the 90s when they were going to do Secret of Vulcan Fury, the Spock model they had for that was pretty impressive. So I would like to see the comparison between the two of those, honestly. But that's brilliant, and to be able to 3D print prosthetics, that's amazing. Like, technology has just come so far.
And once you invest in a very high-end piece of kit that's cutting edge, it pays for itself quickly, right? And all these prosthetics were one use, and some wouldn't even last a day, apparently. So every single shoot, every single day was brand new money being spent. And of course, every version of Spock, they're pretty radically different, his ages, etc. But also explains why this same actor, I'm assuming his 40s or 50s, could look younger, because obviously if you're reprinting a forehead, take out the wrinkles, boom, he's younger, right? The structure that you're associated with age is not there anymore. One thing he said is that they originally found he couldn't emote as well as they wanted him to, because of course it might only be this that exists that's real, right? This next shot was their original test. Which one's real and why?
Oh, the one on the left is real because it's from the motion picture. The one on the right is clearly not real because he doesn't have Vulcan ears.
Okay, fair. Didn't even see that. Which is funny because that's one of the things they say in the keynote, that they posted this and people they posted it with the opposite in people's minds. They said, look at the right is the left is the fake one, the right is the, so they put that idea and people were agreeing with them. They were saying, yeah, you're not done a good job. Good point, the ears aren't right.
I can see why people might say that the left one is fake, honestly. But when you said that one of these is real, it's clear which was real to me. Not just because of the ear either, but actually the one on the right looks very much like a reface app or like a, something like that, because it feels a little off. I don't know if it's the lighting or the shadows, but.
Well, I there's a slight sense of this part of his face is different, if that's what you're going with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because they've obviously made the right image not look perfect. There's some weird compression artifacts and some over sharpening. The left, of course, is overly blurry, but he's an expression that stretches out his mouth, so that doesn't look how I associate Nimoy looking. Like the right, I think, looks more like Nimoy, but I would say a younger Nimoy than he was in the movie. So that's what my brain sees.
Yeah. No, I understand all that. Yeah.
But I mean, as a still, But of course, as a deepfake, this is not overly difficult to achieve. Especially, a still frame you can do a lot with. But as a test, I mean, he's got the gift of the close. The next shot is some other tests they were doing. How can they push this actor to make into the different versions? Because Nimoy did appear from Cage into JJ. And JJ is close to what we saw in the regeneration, but of course there's the unification guy as well. And to do that, we've got to recreate the uniforms and make that, come to life again. And obviously you can see on the right, that's them filming it. Like that's a Spock.
Yeah. Now these two images in the middle, are they both the actual actor?
Yes, my expectation is only the digital, the effect on the top. That's from Discovery. That's the stock footage. All the other shots are the actor. Because
honestly, it's a little uncanny valley. The two in the middle, something seems like they might just be CG models. I don't know what it is. Again, could be the lighting, but they seem a little off to my eye.
Maybe the right hand one's a bit too blue. Maybe it's being relit with the CG. They did talk about they scanned the actors on set with a really, really high end system, so they could then make some new. A lot of the shots they were static, right? Like a mind meld, they're still, so they can do a digital move and a relight, and possibly that's what you're seeing. The next shot is right from their keynote, and this is I hadn't seen until I looked. This was their case study of them actually trying to mimic all of the different ages of Nimoy. So everything on the top is obviously real. Everything on the bottom is...
I mean, the old Spock from 2009 doesn't quite work for me.
No, I agree.
Their version of
they can't actually add the folds to the face, effectively, that old man face gets. Because by that point, Nimoy is sagging. The age sag. You can't add wrinkles to a face enough to capture that. I think that's what that one was dealing with.
I mean... They're all very close. I mean, the Cage one, the eyebrows aren't right. They didn't do the eyebrows right on it. But if you didn't have the comparison shot beside it, your brain would just be like, that's Nimoy. But once you got the comparison shot, you're like, okay, I can see where there's some differences here. So, but most of them are really good. I mean, the unification one doesn't quite work for me here. I think the unification one in the last image was much better. But
yeah, it shows the difference in a facial change over time. You can't just have the same actual face aging 50 years. The face actually changes. You can de-age them by taking out wrinkles, and the prosthetic might actually feel like you've tightened the skin because you're over-topping real wrinkles with clean. So the young him, I think, those three are very good. They capture something that's kind of sharp. Maybe because the actor's also emoting in kind of a different way. I think the Star Trek 6 is close, but it just feels like an older version of TOS. Like, the wrinkles of Nimoy are quite specific, and they've not captured them. Again, there's a distinct sag of this part of his face that they just can't achieve, and it doesn't look. It looks like the TMP one with Wrath of Khan look, but that's not. Well,
the Monster Maroon one, the Wrath of Khan one, is the hairpiece is just off on theirs. It's down too low, and it just, I don't know. It's just, that's one thing that I noticed.
Imagine how many hair pieces on the Spock lot for this guy.
I know, right? Yeah.
So I think definitely that middle value, like being TOS/TMP, that's the golden one, because the old ones they haven't quite got, and the young ones they mostly work. But I mean, that's the thing. We're valuing. We're saying, oh, it doesn't look perfect. It's not Leonard Nimoy, right? Would you accept 80%? Because I think probably, you get to 60% close for the final two, 70 for Star Trek 6, 80 for the middle, right? At what point do you accept, it's pretty damn close, just to get Spock back?
I would put those percentages higher for me personally, but it's most impressive, honestly.
But the next shot, though, is a really interesting use case, because this was them sort of showing they're on set. Now, my assumption is that the top right is the undigitally modified actor. The bottom right is the CG model, the full CG model, which they had running real time on the day. The bottom left is I would assume that's what's being projected on the wall. It's when they render something in 360, so it elongates out, but it means you could put it on a CG ball around it. The middle, of course, is the actual model of the building they're in, and the top is all different views they're seeing, the clips. And obviously the background is what they're projecting. That's what they're whatevering. Now, they did talk about real-time facial CG trickery to help make him look more like real Nimoy. Do you think that top right looks more or less like Nimoy than the previous shots? Do you think that's pre or post digital effects?
I would guess pre.
I would guess pre as well. Yeah.
It doesn't have the smoothness that the other one did for that age. You know?
I think it looks more natural, but less realistic.
It does look more natural. Yeah.
Like I'd almost more prefer to see that version because it's like oh, it's mostly Nimoy versus a digital thing. Apparently, and again, they were kind of cagey what they were saying. Yes, joke, whatever. They were doing a lot of digital eye work because, of course, the eyes of Nimoy, they can't match that, right? So eye replacement or eye changing, and obviously fixing seam lines because if you can't always get them perfect, especially in super close-ups, and adding some additional wrinkles. I think that if you go back to the first one in the digital the version of Spock, that to me looks way more digital. I think you said at the time those wrinkles look somewhat CG. The way he's static, like those are much easier to put on in CG than doing practically to that fidelity, and that looks more fake to me.
Yeah, I disagree. I think this one looks 100% real.
The full aged one.
Yes, the full age one. I think the motion picture one seems like you can see that where the smoothing is going on.
See, that one looks more real to me.
No, I'm the exact opposite. Because I remember when we first looked at this, you said that it seemed like a little bit fake with the wrinkles and stuff, and I was like, not really. But again, that's just me. If I had to guess between these two, which one was the real Nimoy, I would say the older one. Just there's some smoothing and some hazing and some...
There is some smoothing.
There's stuff going on with the second one that just kind of uncanny valleys this a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think it's the eyes because we take that. It's such an eye shot. I think they've changed this, but because they look like Nimoy's eyes. Like add him to the face, that's a very very good Nimoy still. But it's how those elements integrate with the face. That's what is the confusion point. Whereas the old one, like I don't think the wrinkles line up with his wrinkles. It's also not how he ever looked. This is a new version of him, right? This is super interesting, and the work to do this is it is groundbreaking. Of course, with Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian Boba Fett, they did a full CG face. That is very impressive in its own way. It allowed for a full performance. He's an entire character, right? From dialogue to performing to interaction. That's incredible, but it's not him. There is a lot of, okay. But some of these single shots are like I would hazard at least 50% of all of the audience would say, oh, that's Nimoy. For the good ones. Like, not even think. And then you get people who say, is this a new still? I don't recognize it, right? But yeah, it's sort of the sky's the limit. Well, as someone who also deals with this a little bit, how do you tell stories or shorts without getting to say anything? Because same thing, yes, you could use lines from the movies, but you've got the limitation of how they recorded the dialogue. Maybe it's 45-year-old audio, like in Prodigy, they did that with different actors, and you could tell the different levels of recording quality from different actors because, of course, filmed over the years, or even that was filmed. That was a 2-shot. Sounds worse, etc. But then,
like I said,
lip syncing is difficult, right?
Yeah, get the voice actor from Resurgence though. I think you could lip sync because Spock is very emotive with his mouth.
Who lip syncs who, right?
Well, you'd have to the impersonator would have to do the dialogue, and then the actor would have to. That's the way you'd have to do that, I think. Logically, I think you should go comment down below what you thought about this. Did you think it was all deep fake? What did you think when you first saw these? Let us know your thoughts, comments, everything down below. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that bell notification icon so you don't miss any content from us. And join us for lives where we talk about things like this and many, many more.
Like there's more of this with Octane, right? There's the archives, there's the exteriors, the interiors, there's the shorts.
Which we're going to cover.
I mean, we're going to do more with that stuff. It's an incredible project, and go support them. Go look at their YouTube channel. Go look at articles. It's all worth a read. It's very, very interesting. If you want to support what we do here in our mission to give you new Trek all the damn time, breaking news and cool things in the past, support us monthly if you can. Patreon, it's monthly, obviously. Join the channel is the other way. On YouTube, any amount really does make a difference. Or super thanksing on any video. Our entire thousands of videos backlog, super thanks on, that helps a ton. Or super chat on any of our lives. We'll come talk to you. You'll stay there and say hi to us, and we'll be one happy big family, and it's amazing. Thank you in advance.
So, until next time, I want you guys to enjoy the fleet video at the end of this video. Look for your name. If it's not there, you can join, but until next time, he is Commander Cockins.
He's Foley. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.